Hello, welcome to Three Crows Runes. My name is Jen. Let's do some rune readings today. It's a very special day for many reasons. Not the least of which is, you might hear some shouting from next door because the World Cup is on. And it seems to me that the people next door are having a bit of a gathering. So that might happen. Another thing you might hear, which is interesting, is you might hear the wind blowing because I'm hearing like the moaning of the wind through the window because it's very windy out. So anyway, that's the ambient stuff. The exciting thing is I have, first of all, we're going to be doing pick a card with the Woodland Wardens deck, which is this gorgeous oracle deck, which I got for my birthday. And it's just really, really beautiful. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. But the big news is, for the first time on this channel, I'm going to be reading with the Anglo Saxon Futhorc. What the heck is that, you say? Well, I'm going to have an introductory thing with that a little bit later, right after the introduction. So I'm going to do that. And then we're going to do the 4 readings. Pick your reading. So one of these messages has a reading for you. It's whatever you need to hear right now. This is a message for whenever you find this video. And so obviously I made this when World Cup was on, but the videos are for whenever you find them. Ta-da! So, feel into the cards. One of these cards has the beginnings of a message that is going to be relayed to you with the oracle card and also the Anglo Saxon Futhorc. Hooray! Very exciting. So, one of these cards has a message for you. Perhaps more than one of them. Feel into the cards. Is it card number 1, card number 2, card number 3, or card number 4? I will put the timestamps in the description and I will see you at the reading. Bye! Hello, welcome to the Anglo Saxon Futhorc. Now, I have researched some of this in terms of that there is something that came up that this may also be known as the Frisian Futhorc, but I'm going to stick with Anglo Saxon Futhorc to start with because that's how I learned it. So the meanings for these I have drawn from the Old English rune poem, same way that I drew the meanings for the younger Futhorc from the Icelandic rune poem and the Old Norse rune poem. So in this case, the meanings have been drawn from the Old English rune poem, and once again we have even the runes that look the same as the Elder Futhorc have quite different meanings. So just a quick run through, and yes, to a comment relatively recently, I will be doing this for the younger Futhorc at some point in the future, hopefully the near future, but this is a busy season, so we'll see, hopefully. This is the one that is known as Feo. Feo has to do with wealth, but wealth as far as being a comfort. This is Ur, it's the wild ox, just like Uruz. However, unlike Uruz, that has to do with just strength and health, this has to do with wildness and fierceness and pride and courage. Thorn is a thorn. It's something you have to watch out for. It can stab you if you're not careful. Os, which is the reason it's a Futhorc and not a Futharc. This is an O and not an A. Os is the mouth. It has to do with communication and through which a blessing can be given. Rod, which is riding. It's a journey, but it's the journey where it sounds good for when you're thinking about it, but it takes courage to actually go and do. Ken, which is the torch. It's basically light. It's shining a light. We have Gifu, which is the gift. It's generosity. It's interesting because Gabo is the gift and it always has to do with an exchange. By the time we get to the Old English, it's basically a gift. It's one-way gift. Vin, which is bliss, and that's the absence of suffering. Hegel, which is just weather. It's a hailstorm, but it's not what Hagelaz is. It's just basically weather, something that's temporary that comes in and messes things up a bit. So, but it passes, things that pass. Need, which is yes, troubles, and yes, need, but it's also something that opens you up to being saved, to salvation, which is excellent, like in terms of like this can invite that. Is, which is ice, and in this case, in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc, it has to do with something that looks beautiful but is treacherous. Year, which is it's the summer rune, basically. It's similar to the harvest rune, similar to Yura, except it's basically a time of plenty, basically. We have Eo, which is the yew tree, and this has to do with something that's deeply established and deep-rooted and brings joy through that. So something like traditions or something that's just basically well-rooted. Peorth, which is Pertho. I usually, in the Elder Futhorc, I read this as the lot box. It has to do with surprises and fate. This literally has to do with games. It's just games, it's pastime, it's fun. This one's a neat one. This is elk sedge. It's, normally as algae, it's the elk. It has to do with protection and support. In the Anglo Saxon Futhorc, it has to do with the elk sedge, which sort of it's in the water, and if you accidentally touch it, it makes you bleed. So that's a very different meaning. It is defensive, I suppose, in an offensive way. And I do remember reading that they used to thatch their houses with it, but in the poem, it's basically just focusing on that it can be something that's hidden that will make you bleed. So Sigel, it's the sun, bringer of joy, bringer of light. Tyr, we don't even know where Tyr, the warrior god, is in this anymore. In the rune poem, this has to do with the guiding star. Beork, which is really kind of a tricky one, because it basically just talks about how it doesn't reproduce by fruit. It has no fruit, but it's glorious, it's lofty, it's beautiful. So it's like this almost otherworldly beauty that transcends worlds. Ao, which is our horse, still our horse, but it does have to do with freedom of mobility more than it has to do with movement and spirit. So freedom of mobility. Man, which is just the human experience, basically. It's like humans are loved, but they are also basically guaranteed to fail each other, and eventually they'll die. So it's just basically the human experience. Lagu takes the place of Hagalaz as far as being chaos and something frightening. It's just basically really frightening. It's the ocean in the Old English rune poem. So it's something huge and vast and terrifying, which is very different meaning. Ing, again, where's the god in this? They basically had. The rune poem basically says we saw this as a hero, so there goes a hero. It's the hero. Dag is the day. The meaning in the Old English rune poem is that it's the time we're given. So it's the blessing of the time we're given in which to do things. Ethel is still the home. It's home, sanctuary, and where we can be who we are. Down here, with leaves blocking it, we have a whole new bunch of runes that we haven't even seen the shape of yet. There's 33 runes in the, that's debatable. There's only 29 runes in the Old English rune poem. The other 4 are considered to be bind runes that were added on, and so there's no poem for these. So we're sort of basing this on what the bind runes are and what the name of them that has been discovered is. So we'll get to that. Here's the exciting row. Not that these aren't exciting, and not that there aren't new meanings for these as well. Down here is like stuff we haven't seen before. Well, except for ear. There's an ear in the Younger Futhorc, but it's not the same meaning. So oak. It's oak. It's the oak tree, and this has to do with just basically a generous provider. The oak in the poem has to do with the acorns fatten your pigs to eat, and the wood is basically the wood for your ships. So it's basically a supporting thing. It's very generous, supporting something that is generously supporting you in a lot of areas. The ash rune, Aisk, is about sturdiness. It's like it says basically, and it's so sturdy that it takes a lot of people to bring down an ash tree. So it's basically sturdiness even when attacked. The bow rune, ear, is basically you have the tools you need. This is the bow that is really handy to have as you go out riding. Yar, which is the eel. It's the serpent, it's the eel. Somebody even said it was a beaver. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with that meaning. It's the eel. And it basically, the poem says it's a creature that it lives in the water, but it eats on land. So it's about sort of being in two worlds. It's like one foot in two worlds. This one's neat. This is air, the earth. And by the meaning in the rune poem, it's the grave. So it has to do with abrupt endings, especially ones that sort of create sorrow when they happen. And now the special 4 that got added on and are kind of like bind runes. So this is Calc. It's a chalice. I'm seeing this as, and I'm reading this as ritual. Gar, which is the spear. We have to remember that Odin's spear is what he's known for his weapon. And when he hung from Yggdrasil and eventually learned the runes, he had pierced himself by his own spear, sacrificed himself to himself, and opened himself up to Yggdrasil, which is of course the framework of the universe and connector of all worlds. And so opening himself up on that, and was able to take that all in, and then was given the runes. So it's that kind of spear. It's a very mystical, turning in and opening yourself up to the wisdom kind of thing by self-sacrifice. We have Keorth, or Keorth. I'm not sure entirely how to pronounce this one. Given that this looks like this and this, I'm inclined to read this as and then the word that was given with this one was fire. So I'm sort of seeing this as a progression and a deepening of something that's a little more destructive than the yew tree. But I'm also inclined to read this as something that may have started as an unpleasant surprise and actually is the turning of fate. It turns into a pleasant surprise. So it's something that seems unpleasant to start with and actually turns out to be something that's not unpleasant. And finally, we have Stan, which is the stone. Given that this looks like 2 of these stuck together as a bind rune, I'm going to choose to read this as Keeper of Secrets, because when this is a lot box, which it is, it's open on one end, and when you've got 2 stuck together, that's not opening, and the secrets within are not being revealed. So I am going to read Stan as Keeper of Secrets. So there you go, Anglo Saxon Futhorc. Ready to do the readings? Let's do it. It's very exciting. I will see you at the readings. Bye! Hello, card number 1 people. So card number 1 people, I'm going to turn this card from the Woodland Wardens Oracle Deck. Gorgeous. Wait until you see them. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to finally have these. If it's upside down, obviously I'm going to turn it because we're going to not do... Yeah, there we are, upside down. The cat and lavender. So this rune has to do with independence. So your reading that you chose, one of the messages that you need to hear is about independence in the world. So let's see what the Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to add. Okay. Yeah. And this is, you're basically concerned about things that may be hidden and that may hurt you, especially to do with emotional entanglements. And you sort of get immersed in emotion, and that could actually cause you some worry. That could be something that is causing you some worry, which is why you're sort of choosing your independence. I'm just going to lay out an entire reading and then go from there. Okay, I'm gonna, because I don't want to end on that rune, I'm gonna do a little bit more. So we're gonna get some extra fun rune readings out of this. That's okay, there's enough space on that. Oh, nice. Isn't that cool? Okay, central issue here. We have Elk's Edge, which is something that is submerged within the waters of emotion, and that if you brush against it will actually cause a wound. And this is sort of your focus and why you're sort of like, no, you know what, I need my independence. This is what this is about. I don't want to be hurt. And I don't blame you because it's like the bleeding. It causes like a bleeding. Leading up to this, you have been allowing yourself to be guided. We have a Tyr, which in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc has to do with the guiding star. So you've been allowing yourself to be guided up until this point, and now you're sort of looking at this situation, and maybe your independence is being put into question at this point, because maybe you're in a situation where, you know, you'd like to get involved, but you don't want to get involved with where there's going to be emotion involved, and where there might be something inherent under the water, under the waters of emotion that might actually cause you harm and make you bleed. What is going to help you is, and I'm going to read this with the very positive read that I explained in the Meet the Futhorc, but maybe you just jumped to this and you didn't hear that, so I'm going to go with this anyway because that's the way I roll. What is going to help you is something that you feel like maybe was a negative surprise. Sorry, it's Queorth, it's fire, but it's sort of a bind rune of what looks like Peorth and Io. Io. So, Io's here. Anyway, it looks like something that maybe seemed like bad luck is going to turn into good luck. It's something that seems like was a potentially negative surprise is actually going to turn into a positive surprise. And that's what's going to help you here, is just basically like that song is like, you know, tell me all the things that I'd never say and tell me all the things I'd never do, because I used to not like you, but now I think you're okay. You know, kind of thing, to mangle the words. Anyway, so that's basically what's going to help you at this point. I know you're worried about getting hurt, and I don't blame you, but there might be something going on that isn't as bad as maybe you originally thought it was when it presented itself to you. What isn't going to help you is turning away this opportunity to be, to basically expand your life journey. This is Rad. It's the rune of riding, but it's riding where, like, if you look at it from without actually doing it, you're like, oh, that sounds really cool, but then it actually takes courage to do it. Take up your courage, because it's not going to help you to just basically sit inside and say, no, I refuse the journey. Pick up your courage and basically go out. Whatever this is not as bad as you think it is, and it might actually turn around in your mind to something that is a really positive thing. So what this is going to lead you to is, we have ear. So ear's the rune of the bow, and the bow has to do with something really, really handy to have on your journey. And what it generally says is you have what you need moving forward into your journey. And because it's reversed here, I'm going to say internally you have what you need to go forward on this journey. So that's exciting. What is going to help you is, at that point, is that this is the time. Like, this is really the right time to do it. This is the time of plenty. We have Year, which is the summer rune. It has to do with basically a time of plenty for everybody. There's not going to be bad luck right now. There's abundance. There is basically everything you need to have your, have the abundance in your life. So this is going to help you. The fact that we are actually in that time where I am, it's not summer. Literally, I'm in the northern hemisphere, so it's actually winter. But whether it's summer or winter where you are now, really, right now, sort of the vibe of things is one of great abundance, and it's one of basically summer of like, you're going to have what you need. It's a time of plenty, so that's going to help you as you move forward. What isn't going to help you is we have Gifu, which is the rune of the gift, and it has to do with generosity. You're worried about this. It's a very positive rune because it's the rune of generosity, but you're a bit worried about that. Like, maybe there will be an imbalance of that. You maybe you may be holding back because you feel that it might be one-sided. And in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc, Gifu is a one-sided gift. It is generosity, and you may feel like, maybe you were burned before, where you had, you gave and gave and gave, and you weren't getting anything back, and it was like generosity but one-sided. But try not to worry about that. Oh, I guess they got a goal. I'm hearing the shouting. Anyway, what is going to help you if you start to worry about that is just remember, this is a time of plenty, and you are going to be getting balancing for the generosity anyway, because it is a time of plenty, and because it is like there's enough to go around right now. So at least that won't be an issue at this point when you move forward, knowing that internally you have the tools that you need to do this. Your next step on this path is, it's going to be scary. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be scary. We have Lagu, which in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc has to do with the ocean, and it's like big and vast and terrifying. And to pull forward from the Elder Futhorc, this is also, the Elder Futhorc has this as Lagus, which is the rune of the heart. So that's just sort of like an echo, but I am reading the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc right now. This is the ocean, and this is terrifying. This is very frightening. So you're going to be in really scary ground at this point. Well, scariness, because it's like vast, and you feel like, can I stay afloat? Can I survive this? What is going to help you is you have things that are well established. You have things that are deeply rooted and well established that you can sort of use as a foundation, that you can use as a base, and that you can always turn to, and that it will give you joy and comfort and pleasure to know that it's there. So these are the things that you're going to turn to that are going to be sort of more like very consistent while you're on this wild, untamed ocean that you're moving through. And that's, you know, that's what's going to help you, is basically knowing that you can look to that no matter where you are, no matter what the ocean is doing. There are things that are well rooted and that are well established that you can still rely on even as you move forward into the ocean. What isn't going to help is we have need, and you're worried about your needs. You're worried about troubles. You're worried about things that you might need saving from. But if that starts to be the case, just once again, turn yourself to what you can rely on, the things that are well-rooted and deeply rooted and well-established. And what this is going to lead you to is, we have air, which is the rune of earth, and specifically the grave. It normally has to do with abrupt endings, things that are just like done. This is reversed. So I'm going to read this a couple ways. One, internally, there's going to be something that is going to end. There's going to be something that's going to come to an abrupt end with you. And maybe this is your ideas about getting into all of this. But it's going to be an internal sort of ending. It may also be an unearthing. It may also be a revival of something that was buried, because this is the grave and it's reversed. So there may be some sort of revival, maybe of your, you know, I'm not going to say faith in humanity because goodness knows, but but it may be like something that you thought was never going to be, that you basically buried, and you thought it wasn't ever going to happen again, but here it is again. So that's by the end of that. So that, card number 1, people, is your reading. I wish you all the best with that, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello, card number 2, people. So, card number 2, people, we're going to turn this card over. It's the Woodland Wardens Oracle Deck. Gorgeous, gorgeous deck. And we have the sheep and blackberry, which has to do with devotion. So this reading today, one of the things that you need to know about in your life right now is on the subject of devotion. So let's see what the Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to say about this. Which one of you wants to come out? There's a lot of runes. There's 33 of them. And so the bag is a bit deep. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. So I'm going to lay out the entire reading and then I'm going to go from there. Neat. Very neat. I can't remember what format I was using before. That was like that. I'm pretty sure it was like this. So we're going to go with that. So, central issue right now, we have Ao, which is the horse. It's reversed. So the horse has to do with freedom of mobility. And reversed, I'm going to read this as freedom of mobility in your head. You actually are pretty mobile. You're pretty adaptable, and you're pretty mobile in your head, and you can actually get around in your head pretty darned well. And this actually ties in. So maybe this has to do with faith. Maybe this has to do, I mean, whatever faith is for you. But this has to do with, you know, maybe you're like looking, it's like that dream or finding new rooms in your home. And you're sort of exploring aspects of your faith, whatever faith is for you, whatever your devotion is for you. Leading up to this, we have Tyr. Tyr's rune. Tyr is in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc not so much about the god as it is about being like a guiding star, being guided. And it looks like either you've lost some faith in what was guiding you, or else you haven't been letting yourself be guided. So once again, you're focusing more on devotion, on faith, whatever faith is for you, and you're sort of in a situation where, and you may feel like you don't have the freedom of mobility that you used to have. Like maybe that's one of the things that stopped you from doing it. Maybe you feel like it's not the new car that you had hoped it would be. So maybe that's also a situation. But you are looking inward for that, for like exploring different new rooms in your house in your dreams kind of thing. What is going to help you is, we have Hegel. Hegel is the rune of the hailstorm. Unlike the Elder Futhorc, the hailstorm in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to do with just weather. It's something that's passing. It's just, you're going through it. There's a storm happening. You know it will pass, and just knowing that it will pass helps you get through it. So there's that going on. But just, being aware of it, and maybe just like experience it, like let yourself experience this storm of the soul, so to speak, about this situation. What isn't going to help is, there's a real sense of something that you were dealing with that looked very beautiful and very inviting and very, very pleasing, but was actually really treacherous. This is Is, it's the ice rune in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc. This has to do with something that looks very beautiful, but is actually very treacherous, aka very slippery, but very beautiful ice. So that's what you're worried about. It seems like you've had that sort of experience where you're just, right now you're sort of shell-shocked about it, and you're kind of worried about it, and you feel like, maybe whatever your devotion is it's sort of like, I'm not sure I can risk it anymore. But just remember, this is a temporary thing. Like, whatever this is that you're going through, the hard part of it is temporary. It's weather. It's just something that's like very natural, and it's just sort of happened, but now things are eventually going to pass. What your next step is, you're going to sort of be in a situation where we have Keorth, and Keorth is the rune of, it says fire in the research, but some people don't even know what this is. This is one of the last 4 runes of the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc that I was looking at, and it's considered to be a bind rune. It looks kind of like Eo, and it looks kind of like Pyorth. So it's basically, and it's sort of a bit switched. So what I'm reading this as is something that seemed like a very negative thing in your fate, but is now a very positive thing. It's something that turns around, and it's like a turning of fate. It's like a turning of fortune, where it looks like it's something bad luck, but it actually turned out to be good luck. And that's where you're at once you get past this storm, and past this moment of feeling like you don't have the freedom of mobility that you would like. It actually turns out okay. What is going to help you is, there's some aspect of this that is like a light being shone. It's like a torch that you see through a window, and you recognize it, and you go there, and you know that there is comfort there, and you know that there is shelter there, and you know there's good things. So some aspect of this is going to lead you, that you're going to see that torch, you're going to see that light, and that light is going to lead you to where you can finally feel safe again. And that's what's going to help you turn your fortunes around, basically, from what seems very negative to something that is a lot more positive. What isn't going to help you is, we have air, which is the rune of earth, specifically the grave. It's reversed, and it's on the lower line. So what I'm seeing this as is, you're worried about unearthing something that you had buried. And I don't blame you, because that's freaky. So that's sort of what could drag you down. But really, it's always a good idea to follow the light. And especially when it's a light that just simply offers comfort and shelter, and basically, the light, it's light. So you know that there is, that there's shelter there, there's some comfort there. On the good way. So, obviously we don't want to, this is going to be, devotion is a very personal thing, and you've got to let that be your light as far as what's going to lead you. It's going to be your own thing. Maybe what other people have told you needs to be your light wasn't your light, and maybe that's what you're discovering at this point when you went inward, mobility-wise. Like, your inner mobility was sort of opening those new rooms in your dream house, and seeing what was there for you as far as your faith was concerned. So again, just bring yourself back up to where you're following the light. What your next step is going to be is, you're still going to be a bit worried about something that's going to be hidden in emotion that's going to hurt you, that's really going to wound you, because we have elk sedge, which is, according to the old English rune poem, it's a kind of a plant, that is under the water, and if you brush against it, it's going to give you a bleeding wound, and that's just something you're really worried about at this point. You're moving forward, and you might brush it, and it might be something that you're going to experience. What is going to help you is we have Vin. Vin is same as Vunyo. It's the rune of joy. It's the rune of bliss, but it's bliss because there is nothing that you don't have any needs, suffering, or worries. This happens, you're going to have suffering. So what's going to help you the most is the fact that you no longer have the bliss that you want. So this is a real journey. Like this that you're reading, that we're reading right now, is actually a real journey. So actually, literally, what's going to help you is realizing where you're not happy, where your bliss isn't, and that's going to help you move forward past this. And what this is, the final rune in this particular spread is saying is we have Bjork. Bjork is the rune of the birch tree. Also, I've seen it described as the poplar, but it basically says it's very beautiful. It grows very, loftily, and it's splendid, and it doesn't reproduce with fruit. It has its own thing. It's very otherworldly beauty. This is reversed on the path line, and what I'm seeing this as is, maybe you go back to a situation pertaining to your faith, pertaining to devotion, that hurt you maybe before, that stopped being a guiding star for you, and hasn't been, limited your mobility. There was a rough patch. There is still something to it that helps you, but when you go back to, I guess we're dealing with a lot of the swamp of it, the swamp aspect of it. Not that the whole thing is a swamp, but when you brush against that, where it's hidden in the emotions, it still wounds you, and that's the part you don't want. And what I see this as is you're going to turn this inward, and you're going to go, you know what? I don't need that part of it. I don't need the part of it that's going to cause me suffering. What I need is the part that's beautiful and otherworldly and lofty and numinous and is just continually growing and gorgeous inwardly. And that's what you're going to do. It's like you're going to turn that, and your tree will be internal. You're going to have that gorgeous internal tree that nothing on the outside can mar by the end of this journey. And that's where your devotion is going to lie. And that, wow, is your reading, card number 2, people. I wish you all the best with this, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello, card number 3, people. So we're going to start by turning this card from the Woodland Wardens Oracle Deck, and we're going to see what we start with. And what we're going to start with is the Ladybug and Sweet Pea, which is happiness. So beautiful, lovely. Your central focus is going to be about happiness. Lovely. This is almost the same color as this, so it looks like it's like a glass thing I've got laid over it, but it's actually just a card. So let's see what the Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to add. Get some runes out to add to this. Ooh, interesting. So I'm going to lay the whole thing out, and we are going to do that, and then we're going to go from there. Wow. Literally the first time I've seen that rune in that spot. Okay. I think that's how I've been doing them. Usually I let the first read determine what the shape is going to be, and I think that's what we've been doing. Okay, so your central issue here, we have Air, and Air is the rune of earth. Specifically, it's the rune of the grave. Reversed in the central issue line, I'm going to read this a couple ways. First of all, it's something that you thought was dead that is currently showing itself to be becoming unearthed. That either you are unearthing this thing that you had buried, or else it's something that you thought was dead and buried, and now here it is again. Maybe it's your happiness. But anyway, we'll see what that's about. The other thing that Earth has to do with, that the grave rune has to do with, is it's something that's an abrupt ending, and maybe internally there has been an abrupt ending with you. Mostly though, I am sort of seeing it as something that's being unearthed. Leading up to this, we have need. Need is the need rune, but is need that also opens you, like if yes, it's need, it's troubles, but it's something that calls its own salvation to it. So maybe there was something that you were going through, some sort of need that you needed fulfilled, and right now you realize you had something that you can just basically, you can unearth it and it can be again. Or maybe there's something internally that you've just basically put a stop to that is helping you. So what is going to help you in this point where you're unearthing the thing or ending something internally that was that needed to be ended, but mostly just like what is happening now. One of the things is follow your inner light. This is Ken. It's the rune of the torch. Reversed, it would be inner. So you've got this inner light that is calling to you. It's your source of shelter and comfort. Something that is calling to you internally that you can see, and you're following it. This light internally that's going to help you with this. What isn't going to help is, man, you're really worried about getting hurt again. I guess I'm assuming again. This is the thorn. The thorn is just basically that it's in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc. It has to do with, it's just something that if you're not careful, it can really, really hurt you. It's something that you just really have to watch out for. So I think you know what this would be. Either that or you don't know what it would be and you're just worried about it in general. If you're following your internal light, this sort of falls by the wayside because the internal light is not going to guide you wrong. So basically follow that, whether you're unearthing something that was buried or whether you are abruptly ending something internally that was causing you a lack of happiness. Right now, it's what's going to guide you is your inner light. What your next step is, once you do that, very exciting because you'll be coming into a time of plenty. This is year, it's the summer rune in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc. It has to do with a time of plenty, abundance for everybody, no discrimination at all. It's basically, once you do this, there's the abundance. That's what you were hoping for. And what's going to help you is, now that you have that, you're going to feel brave enough to start this journey forward that you had been sort of looking at through the window for a while. You've been like, oh, well, that would be nice, but, I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. I don't know if I have the courage for that. At this point, when everything is feeling much more abundant and much more a time of plenty, you're going to feel like, okay, now I'm going to set out. You are maybe going to worry about whether you have the tools for the journey. That's going to be a concern. We have ear, which is the rune of the bow. The bow is basically you have the tools you need. It's a very positive rune when it's upright, but it's in the lower line, which is the negative line, and that's always generally going to be a worry about that thing. So you are going to be a bit concerned whether you have the tools that you're going to need for this journey, but just bring yourself back up to, no, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Just do the journey. And because this is a time of plenty, you really have, and you've been following your inner light, and basically happiness is sort of your overall vibe. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be much less of a worry once you get out into it, even though it is going to take some courage to do it. What your next step is going to be, interestingly, is we have Ys. Ys is the rune of ice, and ice in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc has to do with something that looks beautiful but is very, very treacherous. And you will be passing over this shortly after this time of plenty, and then suddenly you're going to hit a patch where it's going to be like, this is all really beautiful and that part of it is nourishing me, but man, it is just, it's really slippery. So what's going to help you? Well, weirdly, Lagu is going to help you. Lagu is the rune of the ocean in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc, and this is extremely frightening and vast and terrifying and just like dangerous. But it's almost like, I'm going to read this in a couple ways. First of all, you can see that this is treacherous. So your idea is to sort of prepare for it as though it was even more dangerous than it is. And then because this is dangerous, but this is like really scary. So just to prepare for, you can see that it's going to be slippery. So like over prepare, like prepare as though you were going into like deep space or a rough ocean. And then however treacherous this is not likely to be as scary as that. Another way I'm going to read this is, since this is what's helping you, is just that you're going to be more scary than this scary. You're going to be vast and wild because you are. And you're going to sort of over scary this. On a very basic level, this is water, this is ice. So, water is going to run over the ice and not be bothered by the ice because it's just going to be like whew, the flow. But that's not quite the Anglo-Saxon meaning of lagu. So I'm really sort of seeing it more the first two ways I read it, which is like prepare for even worse than you think it's going to be, and that's going to help you get through the slippery part, and also just be the scariest thing in the room. At this point, you're going to be like we are all very natural beings, and so we have that in our nature, and we can do that. We can just like over roar the scary. So what it comes down to ultimately is your experience internally, like your experience of what it is to be human. You have done this, and this is your journey. This is your experience as being a human being. This is Man. It's the rune of humanity, but like basically the truth of humanity. So like seeing the real deal of being human. So yes, beloved by others, but also destined to fail at times. Like you're not going to be able to escape failing people, and you're eventually going to die, is what the extremely bleak Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to say about the Man rune. So it's basically the human experience encapsulated and your experience of that. It is reversed, so it's an internal experience. Like this is going to be, I'm really seeing this more as being a very internal experience for you. You're probably not literally going to be trying to cross a brutal ice field. So it's really sort of life, and you're experiencing these elements of life. The thing where you're uprooting and unearthing something, but you're being guided by your inner light. It becomes a time of plenty. You're proceeding on this journey, which takes bravery to do. There is going to be a patch that's going to feel very treacherous, even if it's beautiful. You're going to over scary that, either to just plan for it as though it's scarier than it is, and then you'll be able to breeze through it, or just to be more scary than the scary thing. Oh my gosh, I forgot to read Deg. Deg is the rune of the day, and it has to do with the time we're given. So you're sort of worried, you don't want to waste time because this is like treacherous and you have to be careful, but you're worried about wasting the time that you're given. But once again, taking the time to plan is not wasting your time, and also just like feeling your real power is also not wasting your time. So do that, take the time, and you will have a very unique human experience out of it, which of course generally will all tie back in with this lovely little ladybug and sweet pea that has to do with happiness. So that, card number 3, people, is your very exciting reading. I wish you all the best for that, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye. Hello, card number 4, people. So we're going to turn this card from the Woodland Wardens Oracle Deck, and we're going to see what we have for that. The Rooster and Sunflower, which has to do with communication. So this is going to be a reading about an aspect of your life that really is focused at this point on communication. So let's see what the Anglo Saxon Futhorc has to add about that. Oh, neat. I was waiting for one of these. Okay, interesting. Oh, wow, both of them. That's so cool. You're the only reading in this set that got both of those. Not that I would have been upset if I hadn't seen them, because it just meant that they wouldn't have been needed. But wow, look it. Ooh, interesting. And in that spot again. That is so wild. I don't know why I didn't expect that rune to ever show up in that spot, basically given its meaning, but hey, there we are. Twice in a row. Okay, so your central issue here, so your main focus is going to be about communication in this. Your central issue, interestingly, is Gar. Now, Gar is the rune of the spear. In the ancient Norse mythology, the spear was Odin's spear. And as ties in with the runes and as ties in with the mythology and with Odin, this is the spear he used to, he pierced himself with it and he hung himself on Yggdrasil, the world tree, and it was like he sacrificed himself to himself. So there is some self-sacrifice happening. There is some sort of, from a mystical standpoint, that you're basically opening yourself up in a way that it's like opening yourself up to an experience that is going to give you a better, more complete view of the world. Again, this has to do with, taking things in, so it's communication, it's becoming open to that. Leading up to this, and probably the reason that you wanted to do this is elk sedge. So elk sedge is a plant that is under the water, usually in marshes, and you might not see it because of the water, but then you brush against it and it gives you a big, huge bleeding wound. So, I guess they got another goal. Sorry, next door there's some people who are possibly very loud and will end up on this. But that's okay, they're happy. So elk sedge. You sort of, from an emotional standpoint, you accidentally brushed up against something that caused you a bleeding wound. Probably not literally, but from an emotional standpoint. And you're like, you know what, I really have to find out what this is about, and I need to learn more, and I need to understand this. So you're sort of taking a moment of, okay, I'm just going to open up and see what there is. I'm going to see what there is, with this experience, and I'm going to experience this, open up to this, and let's see what I can learn from that. What is going to help you is we have Calc. Calc is the rune of the chalice, and the chalice I am reading as ritual. So if you can do this in a sort of ritualized sort of way where you are, it's like, I'm going to open myself up to this. This is something, maybe call on the elements or call on the directions or both, and just basically make it into a mystical experience for yourself, where it's going to have, a containment to it. So it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to just basically experience this from a mystical standpoint as a ritual. This is what's going to help the most. What isn't going to help is we have Aethel, which is the rune of home and place of sanctuary and comfort, and it's basically where you can be yourself. You're opening yourself up, and this is something that is not comfortable, and this is something that is like way the heck out of your comfort zone, and this is scary. This is why it's important to treat this as a ritual, to treat this as something that has a beginning, middle, and end, and that you're going to actually just do this in a very contained way, so that you can, put an end when you're done with it, and it's like, okay, you what's yours, me what's mine, you what's yours, me what's mine, and get back to living. But this is going to be a kind of, as I said, as the rooster and sunflower say, this is going to be about communication and improving that. So, although I don't see Os anywhere here, I haven't seen Os all 4 readings, so maybe, but anyway, either way, there is communication happening. It's just in a different kind of way. So what this is going to lead you to is you will now feel brave enough to resume your journey. We have Rod, which is the rune of riding. It's about, when you look at some experience and you're like, oh, that would be kind of neat, but I don't know if I have the courage to do it, because it will take courage to go and do it. Having done this, you will have the courage to step out and resume this journey, which you might have been a bit worried about doing before. What is going to help you is seize the day. We have Dag, which is the rune of the day, and it's in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc, it's the time we're given. It's the time we're given in which to do things. And so it's like, there is no time like the present. I have this time now, and I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to do the things in the time that I'm given. What isn't going to help is we have Pearth, and Pearth in the Anglo-Saxon Futhorc is games, it's pastimes. You may feel like it's not going to be fun. You may feel like you're worried that this might not be fun. This might not be a fun thing to do, even though you have the time to do it and you have the courage to do it. It's like, man. And if you let yourself fixate on that, if you're like, you know what, this isn't going to be any fun at all, that will ruin it. It won't be good. So it may be there's a new way that you can find to have fun with all of this, but really it's something that you know that it's going to be fascinating for you, and you're going to move forward, and you're going to use the time that you have, and it's a quest. So, you know, whether or not, and also just the fact that it doesn't feel, it's not a game, you know, it's not something that has no consequences. It literally is life. So there's that could drag you down. If it does, bring yourself back up to, you know what, the day is here. It's been given to me. I have this day that I am living. I'm going to move forward on this journey and be as brave as I need to. Your next step on that path is we have Ken. Ken is the rune of the torch. It's just something that, you know, it guides you to comfort and shelter. It's reversed on the path line. So you are going to be seeking your shelter and comfort from within. You're going to be following your inner light. Because even if everything is crazy and you're worried about, you know, brushing up against something that's going to hurt you, as long as you're following your inner light, that's going to continually give you comfort. We have what's going to help you here. Again, I saw this in the last reading as well, Lagu. Now, Lagu in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc sort of takes the place of Hagalaz, only more so. Lagu in the Anglo Saxon Futhorc is the ocean, and it is vast and terrifying. And so I'm going to read this a couple ways. First, overplan. Like, basically plan as though what you're going into is far more dangerous than it actually is. And then no matter what happens, it's not going to be as bad as you think. Also, be the most terrifying thing in the room. Like, you're going to just, you know, you're going to feel your power. You're going to feel the vastness of you. And you're going to just sort of become this big, scary ocean that is going under it. And also just, you know, honestly embrace it as well. That's the other way I'm going to read this. Is, I guess there's like something exciting going on in the game. I don't know if I mentioned on this video yet, but we've got some people next door who I think have gathered to watch the World Cup. And so you might hear that ambiently. Anyway, so your step on the path is you are following your inner light. What is going to help you is, yes, it's scary, and yes, it feels like extremely dangerous and terrifying, but it's yours. You are moving forward and doing this, and it's like, this is fascinating. It's more fascinating than it is. Well, no, it's scary, but it's fascinating, and you are following your inner light. So you do have light. So like, let's just see what's out there, as well as the other things. What isn't going to help is you're going to be just wishing for stability. You're going to be basically wishing for what you left behind when you opened yourself up to this experience, and before you went out on this quest. You're going to sort of long to return to, but you know, the only way out is through at this point. So like, ride it through. You know, this is your experience. This is your quest, and you are carrying your inner light with you, and that's what's going to help you. Well, that's already helping you. What's going to help you is just like embracing this. Just get through it. This is your experience. What the end rune here on this particular spread is need, and need is the rune of need. It's the rune of troubles, but also need. But the thing about the need rune is it calls to you its own salvation. So you have needs. Your needs themselves are going to be what calls to you, what is going to answer those needs. So I'm really seeing that as far as this is the end of the spread, your needs will be answered at this point. Like, basically, you'll get through this, and then you will get the fulfillment of your needs. And you know, this is communication, but it really feels like communication between you and the universe, which is like very profound and very mystical. But what else would you expect with Gar as your central issue, I ask you? So there you go. Very exciting. I wish you, so that's your reading, card number 4, people. I wish you all the best with that, and I wish you a lovely day or evening. Take care till next time. Bye.